coronavirus version. We got a lot of weird kind of things to get to here in the first little bit, followed with a sweet NFL mock draft. The whole first round, we're breaking it down, picks, team needs, everything you need. It's me, Andrew Norris here. I'm your host with producer Parker. What's going on, my guy?
What up, what up? I'm hanging out here in my home, and I'm staying alive, and I'm taking vitamin C, and I'm just, I'm keeping busy, I'm cooking.
Yeah, dude, is that your move right now? Is cooking your move? Because I have done nothing but prep for this and play video games, like nothing at all.
Definitely lots of cooking. I'm definitely gonna freshman 15. We're gonna have to call it like the coronavirus quad chin or something.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna gain 15 pounds. I mean,
you're going to? I already have. I've already put on 15 pounds, easy.
I've been doing that. I've been painting a house. That's been keeping me pretty busy. And just, trying not to drive myself crazy. Watching a lot of U23 film.
Early soccer reference.
Right into the tape. I'm getting right into the soccer. You thought you could escape, but no, it's here. The soccer is here to stay.
What's your dish right now? What's the dish you're cooking? What's your go-to? I know back when we lived together, you were a big sandwich guy, but I feel like you've evolved past the sandwiches.
Whoa, watch your mouth. I will always be a sandwich guy. Sandwiches are my high school girlfriend that you think you're going to get married to, and then obviously things don't work out because you're 15 or 16 or whatever. That sandwiches to me, they'll always have a special place in my heart. I've been getting into like real baking, like top to bottom kind of baking, and then also like big
sweets, baking sweets.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had my mother. It's my mom's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday to my mom.
Happy birthday, Mama Hammond.
She sent me her banana bread recipe, and so I've been making some banana bread. I've been making like big giant casseroles, with like whatever I can get from the bread lines.
Yeah. The little bit of bread that's left
are available for cheap.
Well. I, on the other hand, haven't done anything. I haven't acquired any new skills. I have played video games for 8 to 12 hours every day, and basically sat in a dark basement. And I'm starting to lose it, but I'm also a homebody, so it's kind of where I want to be, where I need to be. But even me, after a week and a half now, I'm starting to lose it. I'm starting to just
lose it.
Yeah, just my brain.
My brain is doing a thing. My leg is affected by the weather now. That's my psychological tick. That's how I know.
Are you one of those? Oh, it's gonna rain because my knee hurts. I don't believe any of you people. By the way, you looked up and you saw a cloud. Yeah, whatever. No, you saw a dark cloud. But anyways, for as much as go ahead.
No.
For as much as it's affected us, I guess you're not going to go. For as much as it's affected us, everybody has pretty much been impacted in some way or another. Like 30% of the population of this state is out of jobs right now. People are staying home.
Both of us were out of work.
Yeah, we're in the service industry. We were one of the first things to get shut down. And even that, it almost felt like it took too long. It was getting a little sketchy. But it's hard times.
Last year or two.
Yeah, and it's hard times though, and this can be something to kind of get you through it. We're gonna talk sports like it's normal at some point here. We're gonna get you back on like a normal grind with that kind of thing, and I think you're really gonna enjoy it because this mock draft is gonna be a ton of fun. But before we get to that, we're still talking Corona, we're still talking all this, but let's stop talking me and you. Let's start talking how it's affecting these leagues. We're gonna start out with the NBA. The NBA was getting close to playoff time. We had 20 plus games left in the season, something like that. We'd be ending the season, here in the next couple of weeks. And now it's just done. And it's a very weird feeling because it's not like a strike or a lockout where they're going to come back, and you like, even with the last NBA one, you knew they were going to be back by Christmas. Guys aren't going to stop getting paychecks for that long if they have anything to say about it. There's going to be a compromise on one end. It's greedy billionaires versus greedy millionaires. With this, we're just kind of stuck. We don't know what to look forward to. We don't know if we're even going to get a continuation of this NBA season. If we do, is it just going to be regular season? Are we going to go straight to, or is it going to be regular season then playoffs? Are we going to go straight to the playoffs? Are we going to have to shorten playoff series length? There's so many unanswered questions with the NBA, especially. And my thought is you're going to see like a 7-game end of the regular season.
Yeah, you might get like a week of games.
Yeah, like if we're going into June and everything's starting to look better, things are getting a little bit more back to normal. I think that you can run a little bit of a regular season, probably have a couple of back-to-backs in there, and then you're gonna have to scrunch in that postseason. You might have to do less games off in between on travel days, whatever you got to do, back-to-backs later in the playoffs, things like that. But it still seems possible, which I think is the biggest part of this.
Yeah, I think it could be a fun experiment. People in basketball circles have talked about, should the first round be best of 5? And there's no good way to really find out, I feel like, except to try it. And this could be the opportunity for us to make some lemonade, so to speak, and try the first round as a best of 5. That's what I think you could do.
Well, on that note, so we had best of 5 until I want to say the early 90s. We went to 7. And there's a couple things like that the NBA wants to do. They've been talking about that, which I think it makes sense. And this is, like you said, it's the opportune time for a trial run. There is no better time to give that a shot than now. Anything you want to try out in any sports with scheduling, anything like that, now is your time. You have an excuse. Give it a shot. We'll see if we like it. Now, the other thing the other thing outside of like a 7-game thing is the NBA recently behind the scenes has been talking about a season that starts in December. You get more towards the end of the football season. You don't have to compete with them as much through the months of November and December, which the NBA loses out on. I mean, you and I both have that problem where, we're all the way bought in on one sport. It's hard to kind of balance that between the two sports. And again,
they're the football playoffs. They're the most important sporting event that happens every year, more or less, at least money-wise.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine, by the way, if this would have happened a month and a half earlier and the Super Bowl would have been screwed? What would you think they would have played it with no fans?
No, I don't think so. There's
right?
too much money.
But your only other option in that case would be to not play it at all.
Yeah, I don't know what the NFL would have done. I mean, you can get into the mindset, you can just ask yourself, what's the most craven thing that we could choose, and then do that thing, and that's probably what the NFL would have done. But I don't even know what that is. I think what they probably would have done is they just been like, screw it, we're doing it anyway.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. That would have been Goodell's move. We got to sneak out another week. I don't care if the rest of the world shut down. We're sneaking out this week. That makes sense to me. All right, back on NBA. I want
full audience ever.
Side note. This is a weird one. This is one that I don't think you've seen yet, and you're going to be really just kind of blown away by. The NBA was talking about having a playoff game if they have to move the schedule back on Nickelodeon. There's no points to make with that. I have no opinions. I'm not happy or mad about it. I just think that's a very strange thing. And honestly, a great idea. Go get that younger generation. Be on their channel. Be where they can see it. It's something the MLB should be doing right now.
Sure. So let me ask you, what's a weirder television experience? The NBA on Nickelodeon or when the NCAA is on True TV every year?
I've gotten used to the True TV, so I gotta go with Nickelodeon because
I gotta re-find that channel every year.
It's just like Impractical Jokers is on 24 hours a day unless March Madness is on.
It's well rebrand as the Impractical Jokers Network.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I need an official prediction from you. Does the NBA come back? How many games? Give me the whole thing.
No, I don't think the NBA is coming back this year. I think that there's just enough left in the season where you can call it, and it's not going to seem. It's just not. I think that there's enough games left in the season where you can just kind of ball it up and throw it away, and that's a real shame, I think. But
Well, the
It was
part
getting
about
it
it,
was
the part about it that kills me is, being such a LeBron stan.
yeah,
This
you're
might be his last shot, dude. This might be his last shot. We don't know. I mean, you can, for the first time, I can see some of the wear and tear on him for the first time. And I mean, he's still, in my opinion, the best player in the world, but you can see, he's getting blocked at the rim a little bit more. He's got to take more jumpers, which he's sufficiently got that old man game going for it. Don't get me wrong. The old man game is there and it's strong, but it's not going to be the same guy that's got a 40+ inch vertical who runs a 4.40 and has the IQ. And he's still got the IQ, but the other two things are gone, and has the IQ. He's a savant. So that is really disappointing for me, but I do think we're going to see the NBA again. I don't think they'll let the season go away. I don't care if we have to play all of June with nobody in the stadium. Just so little money that they get is actually from people being in the stadium compared to those TV deals that I don't know if it would be worth it to cancel a season because of stadium or fanless stadiums.
This is a question I should have researched before the pod started, but how is that going to affect the cap, you think? Is that going to meteor the cap?
Yeah, it seems so. From what I've been reading lately, is the cap is going to drop. They're not sure how much, but like next year it was projected to be at 110 million. I would be shocked if it 114. So I'd be shocked if it was anything below 105 or 100, just because then you're putting teams in such a corner where they have two guys on max contracts and they just lost, an extra 15 million that they basically didn't have in the first place, and it's just gone now. So they're going to have to find a way to come up with that money, whether it's the billionaire owners, doing a little bit more or whatever, but they can't just like cut the cap down to 90 million or something like that. It would just be impossible.
I'm thinking about Adam Silver going to Tom Gores and being like, "Hey man, I need you to pitch in a little more."
Would he cut the free T-shirt funding?
Oh,
would that be his move? Would he delay the Tommy John surgery on his arm and get rid of the free T-shirts?
He'd pawn every T-shirt cannon in the building.
Dude, I'm not joking. The first season in LCA, they got rid of the T-shirts. They got in the last year in the Palace, they were doing threes for tees. Okay, every time we hit a three, chucking them. The first season in LCA, no tees. Tom Gores was like, "I'm paying too much for the lease. I'm not doing the T-shirts." Kind of on the same line. Kind of on the same line. The baseball season. This one's a little bit more tricky, but also a little bit more simple because they have even if they started playing in August, you can get a 60-game season in.
Yeah. Is that enough?
I think so. I don't see why it's not. I get it's not perfect and it's not the 162 games or even close to that. But what's the point in canceling a full season when you could still get a 60 games and a full playoffs out? And especially for a sport like baseball, where you can't afford to miss a season right now. Your fan base is dropping off. I mean, it's soccer is bigger in America right now than baseball is. Like, there's more kids playing youth soccer than youth baseball. Hockey's ratings are starting to overtake the MLB. The MLB has a ton of problems. And if they can get a 60-game season out where you might be able to see something like Mike Trout just goes on a tear for a month and hits 450 at the end of the season or some crazy shit like that, like, that would be amazing. That would be so cool. Or like guys racing for the home run title at like 14 home runs. It feels like it's 1907 again. Like, I'm all for that. So I think the MLB will be back. I think the NBA will be back, but I think it'll be in limited capacities. They'll start with no fans and hopefully slowly move back towards where we can get fans. Because if the NBA is going in September or August and we still can't have fans, we're probably fucked way beyond the point of like caring about sports. You know what I'm saying? It's gone so far at that point. Some fun.
Right. Hey, I'm gonna screw you real quick. Is the NHL coming back?
Oh shit! Yeah, sure. Yes, I'm gonna say yeah because they're on the same schedule as the NBA, and I think they would also like to move their start back to December because they really aren't competing with football in any measurement or any analytic. There's nothing you can find. So I think it would be even smarter for them. Continue the season into August, maybe even September, a little bit of a shortened off season, and then right into the season start Christmas Day. Basketball starts Christmas Day. Hockey starts December 26th or New Year's Day, something like that. It works out great.
I like basketball starting on Christmas. I think there's a lot of reasons why that makes sense. It eliminates that like terrible period in like June, July where there's no.
It's gone. It's baseball and
no
basketball.
baseball.
That'd be wonderful. It'd be perfect. It would be perfect. I'm officially rooting for that 7-game season. Restart the season next year in December. Still get your playoffs, all that. All right. So we're all on quarantine. We just talked a little bit about what the hell we're gonna do during quarantine. Cook, clean. Those are pretty much the 2 things, unless you got a PS4 or a PC. Get drunk. I've done plenty. I've done a little bit too much of that, if I'm being honest. But it's quarantine, so you can't be an alcoholic during quarantine.
Every night's Friday night when it's quarantine.
But what I wanted to do was come out with basically a watch list for people. Okay, you got 2 weeks. You tested positive. Even if you didn't, somebody you know tested positive. We're almost at 200,000. That's coming. Where you're definitely going to know somebody who tested positive. You're stuck in the house for 14 days. What do you do outside of the boring cooking, cleaning stuff that I don't like to do?
So if your goal is like just to like you just want to kill time, you're just like grinding. You're grinding the tape, but for the opposite reason. There's a lot of like big, long, prestige TV stuff you can do. There's a bunch of new stuff that you've probably missed. There's too much, movies and TV and all sorts of streaming services are putting stuff on for you now. Puzzles are good. I mean, you can play some puzzles. You can try to learn to write if you're a person who likes to write. I mean, you can write for 6 hours and get nothing done. It's kind of the best and the worst in that way.
I've been living through that with prepping for this show, staring at a screen and staring at a screen and staring at a screen. And then, scratching
all this up on the fly.
So just real quick in the comments for things to do during your quarantine, we got watch Tiger King over and over again. Thoughts? Have you watched it yet?
Tiger King's pretty nutty. I'm not gonna lie. I watched Tiger King all in one go, and I'd had almost a whole bottle of wine. So as far as like the specifics go, it gets a little fuzzy, but Tiger King is crazy. If you like Tiger King, McMillions is still on HBO, and that's also that's really crazy. I like McMillions, if only more than Tiger King, because it's not about animal cruelty, which kind of just makes me sad.
Yeah,
they show a clip of like Shaq owned one of the Tiger King's tigers. Like,
yeah, what was that? Is he? I saw all I got was a Bleacher Report update that said, like, I don't know the guy. But are we believing that? People who have seen it, are we buying that he doesn't actually know this guy?
If you were buying my grandparents once drove in an RV from Florida to Canada to get 2 cats, like house cats. So if you're telling me that Shaq is buying tigers without shaking hands with the guy, I don't know. That's on him. One way or another, that's on him.
Well, all I need to do is get to the bottom on if Shaq was doing meth with the Tiger King, because that would be a greater story than just about anything I've ever heard in my life.
Shaq, that dude's too thick to be doing meth.
Yeah, he's not doing meth. You're right. You're 100% right. All right, we got
going to a buffet called meth.
We got to kind of fly through this. So I don't know if you have 5 things, but I got 5 things to watch during your 14-day quarantine that is going to equal 13 and a half days worth of programming for you to enjoy. Okay?
So I'm going to do the math?
Yeah, I did all the math.
Holy crap. Okay, I didn't do the math, but I got some stuff.
Okay, so step 1, okay? Going to get you through your first 2 days nice and easy. You're going to be relaxing, not going to have a care in the world. Get Disney Plus and watch every Marvel movie in the order they came out. Okay, that's going to take you 48 hours. No sleep. You don't get to sleep. You have to watch them all start to back. No sleep. 48 full hours, almost on the dot for that one, okay? You get Iron Man, Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy. You got it all, okay? That's 2 days, not a care in the world. Cuddle up with your dog, cuddle up with your significant other, whatever you got, okay? Now, number 2, this one I'm doing right now, and I want to hear if you think I'm just fucking crazy or what. But if you're really missing basketball and you want to watch it, for $6 a month, you can get NBA TV on like the NBA League Pass app, or if you already have it, just sign in with your cable subscription. uh, and watch every NBA Finals game from the year 2000 to the year 2019. Okay,
Ooh.
so I'm doing it a little bit out of order. I'm watching the LeBron ones first. So I'm in 2013 right now. I got Game 7 to watch tonight. I just watched Ray Allen hit that or not the buzzer beater, but hit the game tying shot last night. Got just as hype as I did in 2013. Woke some people up in the house because I was screaming. But it's one of those things that every time I see it, it gets the blood flowing. First of all, am I just absolutely nuts? Because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm watching old basketball games.
As somebody who knows you, it makes a lot of sense. But if it were just like some guy meeting you for the first time, yeah, dude, you're nuts.
Like, dude, I turned on the 2012 finals against the Thunder at like 2 a.m, and I watched the whole series. I was up at 8:30 in the morning watching Game 5 of the 2012 final. I can't watch 2011 yet. I'm saving that for last because I just gotta like go through it again. But yeah, that'll take you. That's 102 games. Okay, it'll take you 9,486 minutes, which equates to 158 hours or 6.58 days.
Wow. Well, I mean, congratulations to you for knowing that.
So we're 9 days into the quarantine already. We're 9 days in, and that's if you didn't sleep. Now, if you slept, you're probably about 13 days in.
Or eager, or bathroom, or
it's just like everything you need right here. I got it for you. I got it. Something else. This one's on Netflix. This is related or superhero related. It's called Our Planet. It's like a Earth documentary. That's 8 episodes, 7 hours long. It's awesome. The camera work is amazing. Everything looks amazing. If you got like that creative juice flowing or like that interested, curious juice flowing through your brain, that's the one I'd go to. Because that is. Have you seen that?
Nope.
It's amazing. I don't know if you like Earth documentaries. You don't really seem like an Earth documentary guy to me from living with you for 2 years, but like that's a great one.
I reject the Earth and all of its troubles.
So I got 2 more. One of them you're going to reject. You're going to be like, don't watch it. Don't waste your time. Okay. One of them I think you're going to like. So the smaller one is The Good Place. The first 3 seasons are on Netflix.
Hell yeah.
You got 16 hours worth of The Good Place on Netflix. If you were curious, 975 minutes.
Of the Planet and Theater. Mark Evan Jackson is awesome in The Good Place. Boom.
Oh, there we go. Little plug. You've seen that one, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one that'll like make you happy, as opposed to most of the things we're watching or doing right now is just dragging us down. We're getting bored of it. This is a show to kind of lift you up, brighten your day up.
I would say along that same kind of like lighter fare. 30 Rock's got 7 seasons and 6.5 of them are super good. Super light, just jokes, you know.
Yeah, great, and we need that right now. We need that right now, bad.
We got 9 seasons to get through.
So this is the one I want you to guess it. I'm gonna give you the numbers. And just know it's a show I love. Okay, so you should know you haven't like given me any indication that you hate it, but from knowing you, I think you probably hate it. It's 130 episodes.
Is it The Big Bang Theory?
No, I don't like The Big Bang.
Okay, I just check it.
I just think The Big Bang Theory makes money, so it's successful. But another conversation for another day. All right, 130 episodes, and it is a little bit darker. Give me your best guess. I'm putting you on the spot.
130 episodes, and it's a little bit darker. I don't know. Brooklyn Nine-Nine? That's not very dark.
I don't know that dark. It's The Walking Dead.
I don't know what. Walking Dead. Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
That's another 5,700 minutes cut right out of your quarantine for you, okay? 95 hours. 95 hours of quarantine time just looking at zombies getting murdered.
That has to affect your psyche in some way.
Yeah, dude, I've watched that show all the way through twice, and it really, by the end of it, you're like exhausted. It's a lot. When you're binging that, it's a lot to get through. All right, but like I said, we got to fly. One thing we wanted to do, we're talking Detroit Lions. We're talking off-season grades for free agents. Parker, I think you got the free agents lined up, and then we'll just kind of. Yeah.
So do you want to? I mean, there's like 7 total, but really there's like 5 that are probably going to matter.
Hit me with what you got.
I guess I'll ask. Let's do this. I'll ask you. What grade would you give the Lions signing Chase Daniel? 3 years, 13 million.
Chase Daniel, I'd probably give that signing a C. I don't love the 3 years, but I'm not. A lot of people are freaking out about that $13 million mark, which I'm not too worried about. Because to get a serviceable backup quarterback, who we've seen, he's a good backup quarterback. He's probably one of the top 10 backup quarterbacks in the league. To get a guy like that, especially when your quarterback's had a broken back the last 2 years, at $13 million, $4.3 million a year, that's not bad. I'll take that all day of the week. I'm not excited about it. I'm not mad about it. So I'm sticking it right there in the middle, giving it a C.
It's voidable after 2 years.
Okay, perfect. That's perfect. And that honestly helps take a little bit of. I was worried about it taking some value away from the number 3 pick if we were to trade it, and I think that voidable after 2 years just helps that case a little bit, just because you have a way out pretty quickly here.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Nobody cares about backup QBs until you need it, and then it's
Jeff Driscoll.
So. Right. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make my loins quake, but it's it's a fine, it's whatever. Let's go to like a slightly bigger, slightly more controversial deal. Jamie Collins at 3 years, $30 million.
Yeah. Do we know this one? We can get out after 2 as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it goes, if we cut him after the second year, there's no dead money for that third year, which to me makes this a B minus signing. I'll probably give him a B minus just because he's hitting 30. But he's had the best years of his career under Matt Patricia.
It's 18 million guaranteed, so there's actually 3 years on it. I just thought.
Yeah. And we can, he's going to slide basically right into that Devon Kennard role. Where he's going to be rushing the quarterback, but he also can drop back in coverage. And in Patricia's system, he's shown the ability to do that. In other people's systems, he hasn't been quite as good at the dropping back in coverage with the IQ. But under Matt Patricia, he's thrived in that role over the last.
I think that Browns team is kind of a weird. They were kind of a weird team last year, really young, really immature. I think that those are pretty uncontroversial opinions. And I think that, maybe a guy like that probably doesn't, coming from the Patriots, probably doesn't quite fit in with what that culture was too.
Exactly. That makes a ton of sense to me. Yeah. So I give Jamie Collins a B minus. I'm happy about it. I'm not super happy we cut Devon Kennard to sign him to this deal.
Yeah.
But as standing alone, just looking at this deal, I give it a B minus.
Desmond Trufant, 2 years, $21 million, $14 million guaranteed.
Yep, love it. Giving it a B plus. You knew you were going to have to trade Slay. Obviously, the relationship with Patricia and Quinn, it just wasn't there. You knew you were going to have to get rid of Slay. So what do? You go get a guy who, when he's healthy, can be one of the top 15, 20 corners in the league. He had 4 interceptions in 9 games last year. And you got him for only $21 million. It's a small investment. It's low risk, high reward.
Yep.
And on top of that, his injuries have been weird injuries. It's been like toe and forearm injuries. And those aren't typically things that are going to come back and bite you and bite you and bite you. Now it has the last couple of years. But this is still a guy who I think could get healthy. And if he's healthy, he's a ball hawk, and he can turn a game around with some of those plays he makes on defense. He is a perfect fit for the system. He's a man-to-man freak.
Yeah.
And he just fits perfect. I give it a B plus. I'm very happy with Desmond Trufant.
I think that the grade on this deal is variable. I think it's a B plus if their plan is to take Jeff Okudah. Otherwise, I think it's like a C plus, B minus.
I would agree with that. I should have thrown that in there. If you have to get Jeff Okudah, and you can't get him at 3 now. So it puts a lot more pressure on you for the draft. You have to get him at either 5 or 6 or even 7. But 7, it gets a little bit more tricky. I don't
think Isaiah Simmons is the kind of player who's going to play corner. You know what I mean? I think he does everything else but that, it seems like.
Real quick, so I'm guessing this guy isn't on your list. In the comments here from Big Sauce, we got
big ups to Big Sauce.
Yes, sir. We got Talk Geronimo Allison. I don't know why, but I'm excited about him at Stafford. What do you think about the Geronimo signing? I want to hear you on this one.
What was the money on it? I haven't seen the money on it.
We haven't seen it yet, but my guess it's like either a year for 4 or like 2 for 6. It's going to be small.
Yeah. So it's that's a weird one because he was playing with Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think he was like super awesome. I think he was fine, and you'd think that with a quarterback of that caliber that he might show up more. But Rodgers is kind of one of those guys like Brady, where the talent of the receiver sometimes matters less than his connection with him. And I mean, Rodgers has gone through so many receivers over the years. I mean, like a dozen of them. Yep. You know. If it's like a 2-year, $6 million or $8 million deal, it's a good deal. This is a good guy. He's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, he's like T.J. Jones. I can't remember. I read that on Twitter from I think it was the Pride of Detroit guy. T.J. Jones is like the worst case scenario for him, and if we got him at 1 year for $4 million, sure, get some depth in there, get another NFL wide receiver who we know can play on big time rosters with big time players. And see what he can do. It's depth. It's depth. It gets rid of the need to possibly draft a wide receiver the second or third round, which you could still do, but it's not as much of a necessity as it was before. So that's one. I'd give that one like a B. I mean, until proven otherwise.
For sure, and confirm it's as low as we figure it is. But yeah, I'd give it a B. I think that it also allows us to kind of phase out Danny Amendola, who was good last year. He had 65 grabs, but like. He's, football.
36 years old next year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like it. And I think that one thing we learned last year is depth is important. And so we've got 5 good receivers, Yeah.
That would probably be the number one thing I think the Lions should have came out of last year with is it's not all about the top starters as it is about the best backups.
And you'd think that a Belichick coach would understand that.
Right.
But it is, it is what it is. Okay, let's get to – thanks, Big Sauce. Good question. I appreciate you. Halapulavati, Waitai.
Oh, dude, I was going to test you and tell you to try to say his whole name.
Prepared.
Halapulavati Vaitai.
It's a V. It's a Halapulavati.
Halapulavati.
Yeah.
Halapulavati.
It's really
got it.
It's really good.
I give this one a C-.
Okay, right. I'm gonna give this deal a B+.
Okay, now you got to break this down for me first before I break it down because I want to hear your side because you're the only person on this side of the bandwagon I've heard.
Totally. This is my big Zach for the stream. So if you get past the sticker shock of the deal, and the sticker shock is crazy, 5 years, $50 million for a guy who played started 14 games, and then played a lot of rotational kind of minutes for the Eagles. Pretty good offensive line. But if you get into the contract and you really look at what the deal is, it's really like a 2-year, $20 million deal. We pay him $7 million up front, so his cap hit this year is $5.4 million, which is a pretty good deal for a guy who you think could be a starting level offensive lineman. He's 26. He's got room to grow. He's got a lot of good linemen around him, I feel like. I like it better than the money for that, better than what Glasgow got paid by the Broncos. I would rather have this than that. So the base salary is $4 million, his signing bonus is 1.4 prorated. $9 million next year, and then that's it. That's all the guaranteed money that's on the contract. Year 3,
see, that's huge.
Yeah, year 3, his cap number is 8.4. So you're basically paying him probably closer to $9 million. Year 4, it's 10.4. Year 5, it's 10.4, and that's not good. That's not what you want. But if you cut him in year 4 and 5, in year 4, his cap hits $2.8 million in dead money. So you can cut him for 2.5 or 2.8, and then sign somebody for $7 million and get a better, younger player. And it's the same amount of money spent. In year 5, if you cut him, it's $1.4 million on dead cap, and that's nothing. To put it in a perspective, how much money that is, the Panthers have $36 million in dead cap this year.
Yeah, no, that's you've swung me back to a C+. How about that?
I'll take that. I think that we're gonna kind of find that deal's fine. Not great, but fine.
I love the lack of guaranteed money on the back end of that contract. That's just showing a little bit of prowess from Bob Quinn being able to do his job the right way, which we've seen so off and on here in the last couple of years that you're never really sure what you're going to get. So I love that. But regardless of which way you look at it, these first couple of years is a lot to invest in a guy who he's never started more than 10 games in a season. And I get that season was a season where his team won the Super Bowl, and he's been behind 2 really good offensive tackles for his entire career.
Yeah.
But it is just they had to have seen something on tape to know this guy is good enough to sign to this contract, which is weirdly, it's something that gets me excited, even though I have such little trust in Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. But this is something where they went, like, it was their first signing pretty much. They went right for it, and it wasn't small money. So they're bought in on this, because this is one of those things that people are going to look back on at the end of the year. Let's say they went 9-7 and missed out on the playoffs by a game. This type of thing is going to be the deciding factor of whether they get their jobs back, which hopefully in any case where they don't make the playoffs, they don't. But
like, this is to make it or break it, you know? They're either coming back for 3 years or they're fired, and I don't think there's any in between.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got me to a C+.
Yeah.
Hala palu vaitai waitai.
Now you're screwing me up.
Hala pala wala haitai.
You know what? I'm done with this. You're freaking me out. Danny Shelton, 2 years, $8 million. I love this deal. I love Danny Shelton.
Giving this one an A.
Plus.
$8 million. You get him for 2 years. It's wonderful. The risk on here is a lot lower than a lot of the other signings. You're basically going to play him like he's Snacks Harrison. That's what you're going to do.
Like there's hardly any risk for $4 million. Like, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's
Cap's $100 million.
Yeah, nothing. You stole him from a division rival, which is good because he was a big part of their D-line. He's not the best player on that D-line with a shit ton of talent, but he was a good, solid player who can stop the run. I give Danny Shelton an A. I'm excited to see him in the Lions uniform.
Danny Shelton has already installed a hill in his backyard for the offseason, which I love. I'm all in on that. That's what I want. I want my guy to want to run the hill.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a Patricia.
Know about the hill?
I would think so. Explain it to him. I think so, but
so the hill is controversial in the Lions locker room. But when Patricia came in, one of the first things he did in like preseason offensive workouts in the New England like practice arena or whatever you call them, they had this big giant natural hill that they used to make the players run. I mean, they just would run the hill. Like that was their way of like sneaking in a 2-a-day for not really a 2-a-day time. And the players hated it until they came back from like 30 points in the Super Bowl, and then they loved it. You know, it's one of those things that you hate until it saves your life, you know?
Right.
And so that was why a few years ago, I'm sure you remember this, there were a lot of like Patricia's coming in and he's doing all these things and the players hate him and, oh, we miss Jim Caldwell. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was making them do that level of conditioning. And whether or not they were injured, I don't think you could argue that Lions team was like in worse physical condition than any other team. I thought they were playing, you know, at least 55 minutes of football.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I love the hill. If Patricia wants to make his guys run up hills, make them run up hills. Like here's the thing.
We had to run the hill.
I'm really not the you're a millionaire athlete, just, you know, do what you're told type of guy. But when it comes to like doing shit in practice, you're a millionaire athlete, do what you're told type of guy. Like that's your job. That's all they're asking you to do is your job. Just because your job might be a little bit harder than the guy down in Cleveland getting coached by whatever goddamn coach they got right now. They're 100th coach in 14 years. It doesn't matter. If this is what your coach is telling you to do to make the team better, you do it. And I get it. If it was like outside the line, if it's Patricia telling you to stop sucking off somebody or whatever, like I get it. That's when you're crossing the line. But like,
I feel like we should mention that that's a thing he allegedly told a player. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, those aren't my words. Those are Darius Slay's words.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the word Darius Slay used because it was funny, but I can't.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to do little things like that. Like you're a professional. Like you can run up a damn hill. Okay, that's my biggest point on this. Like that.
The lineman's gonna find you and like drag you up and down the hill.
Whatever, dude. I'll kick his ass. I'm not sure. All right. Do we got any other free agents?
It's kind of you can breeze through them pretty quick here. Nick Williams, 2 years, $10 million. I don't love it. What?
B minus. I mean, it's.
Really?
I don't like that he got more money than Danny Shelton did, but he was also really good last year.
he's got 4.9 locked in this year. So I don't know. And what's his projection? Is like a rotational guy?
Well, so the concern is last year he's 29 years old. Last year was the first time he's got real playing time in the NFL. But he came away with it with 6 sacks and a good amount of tackles and a good amount of tackles for loss. Yeah. So if he's a rotation guy, you're looking good.
Okay. All right, you kind of talk to me like a C+ for that. Jaron Kearse, 1 year, $2.8 million.
I'm not going to pretend like I really know all that much about Jaron Kearse. Special teams, I think.
I mean, it seems like something's going on in Minnesota. I don't know what that is, but they're leaking players, and they're pretty good. So I'm glad to get one. I'm glad to get 2 of them, I guess.
Yeah.
This is cool. Appreciate it. Jerron Harmon and 27th rounder for 2020.
A+. Now you don't actually. I'm going to give it an A- because you don't have to make the trade if you didn't trade away. Safety. I can't believe it's not in my brain right now. Who's the damn safety we traded away last year? To the Seahawks. Now I'm putting pressure on myself, and I can't.
Now you're putting pressure on me, and I don't want it. So.
But anyways, if you didn't trade him, you wouldn't.
Quandre Diggs, is that who it was?
Thank you, Jesus Christ. If you didn't trade Quandre, you wouldn't have to make this trade. However, you're getting a guy probably at least as good as Quandre Diggs back, and you're giving up the 5th rounder you got for Quandre Diggs and adding a 7th round pick with him. So I give this one an A to A+.
Wow, that's some real 4-dimensional chess right there.
I mean, it's what you're doing though.
Yeah.
It's a weird way to look at it.
I mean, that's how you're supposed to build teams. We saw the Eagles do stuff like that. Howie Roseman with all the time. Belichick too.
Yeah.
Vrabel little.
Yeah. No, I like the trade though. It's another Patriots player, and I know people are pissed off about that, but I like that. It's guys that know the system.
I don't care what football games. Whatever.
Yeah. Whatever.
So who's left? We got a couple players left. You can see.
Yeah, I'll just list them off real quick. We signed defensive back Tony McRae. He's going to be a special teams player. He played under our new special teams coach in Cincinnati, who is one of the best, brightest young coaches in the league who we got now. And he really liked Tony McRae, so we got him. We got 2 linebackers, Reggie Ragland and Elijah Lee. Elijah Lee also is going to be mostly a special teams guy, while Reggie Ragland will probably be in the rotation mixed in. He's kind of Jared Davis if Jared Davis didn't go flying past the quarterback like a bullet every single time.
Do you think that those Jared Davis trade rumors are worth something? I think they probably are.
Yeah, I mean, we just signed 3 linebackers this offseason.
I bet we draft one.
And we have Jelani Tavai. I mean, what if they ended up going Isaiah Simmons? Then Davis is gone for sure, whether it's cut or trade. I mean, he's gone for sure.
Oh, my God. We can't cut Jared Davis.
If you draft Isaiah Simmons, you kind of have to.
I don't know. I don't like that. I don't know.
They won't though. That's not the route they're going to take. They'll find a way to trade him. If you can't get a 7th round pick for Jared Davis, you don't deserve a job as a GM. So,
yeah, I agree.
All right, go ahead.
Who's left?
I think
free agency. Is there anything in free agency who's still available that you think is like a good fit or match?
I mean, the obvious one that would never, ever happen is Jadeveon Clowney. He's the perfect final piece to this defensive line. But, no, they just got to keep making depth signings. It's all about depth signings right now, and then you hit in the draft. You make the trade in the draft, and you hit in the draft.
If we're taking Okudah, and I just feel like everything we're doing indicates that we are, I also wouldn't mind taking some money and putting it at Everson Griffin. 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. 12 million.
We've got the money. We've got like 36 million in our cap left or something.
Yep, that is a fantastic idea. That's probably the best available player for the Lions to sign.
And if we end up with like Derek Brown or Isaiah Simmons, Logan Ryan is still available. I think he'd make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Tremaine Brock is a good kind of like deeper cut, would make sense as like our 2nd or 3rd guy. That's kind of all I got for like players still available. I just got like corners and stuff. So,
all right, overall grade
for the off season so far.
Yep.
I get a B.
B.
A B because we're competing for big name players, which I think fans are kind of not reacting appropriately to. Big name players cost money, man. We got to outbid people.
Yep. I'll give them a B-. I think a lot of fans are stuck in the place where they hate Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia so much it doesn't matter who they sign or who they draft. They're going to hate it. And I think that's like 60% of the outrage with everything that's going on. I think with this Lions team, I think it's just people wanting to be mad. It's a group of WWE fans, basically, just wanting to be pissed off at everything.
I think local sports has a lot invested in like talking some shit.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. I mean, yeah, and they've basically bought the freedom to do that before they had to worry about contracts and all that. And I'm not going to name names, but a certain big time 2 to 6 sports radio host in the city of Detroit has cut off most relations with these teams.
How many 2 to 6 radio hosts are there in Detroit who are sports based and then who also have had bad relationships with sports teams in the city? I don't know.
I guess we'll think about it. Wewe'll get back to you on that one.
We're going to take a little commercial break here at 91.7, the way to get in.
All right. All right. Well, since we're we can talk for hours and we love to do it, but we got to get this mock draft started. We have a first round NFL mock draft for you. Me and Parker making the picks. We're alternating. He's got even numbers. I got odd numbers. We're hoping to make it through this whole thing in this show, but if not, we will finish it in the next show for you. I do want to do a full first-round mock draft, so this is NFL Mock Draft, Fan to Fan Detroit 1.0 edition.
Okay. I thought the keyboard was...
Yeah, it's okay.
I do a keyboard. Sorry.
I made the noise.
Going for the production value and falling short. Okay, pick number one.
The first pick in the NFL draft. The Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. Yeah. It's the obvious pick. Local kid. Just had one of the greatest, if not the greatest seasons in college history. 60 touchdowns. They don't really have any other choices here. It's Burrow or it's Tua. And there's too many questions with Tua where Cincinnati's going to do the safe thing and take Burrow. I don't think there's much to talk about here. He's just a champion. He put up an amazing season. It's an easy pick.
Yep. It's an easy pick.
Cool.
Congratulations to Bengals fans.
Yes. Hey.
A franchise quarterback, hopefully, for like a decade.
Might have got Aaron Rodgers. You might have got Aaron Rodgers.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I will say this. I think Bengals fans need to just a little, just calm it down. Everybody's like, Joe Burrow doesn't want to go to the Bengals. It's like, I think he's fine.
Yeah.
Would you be like thrilled to go play for the Cincinnati Bengals,
Well, and that's the thing about sports nowadays is if he didn't want to go to the Bengals, he'd say, I don't want to go to the Bengals. And he wouldn't go to the Bengals.
Yep. For sure.
Number 2 pick, Parker, you're on the clock.
The Redskins. I think this pick is almost as easy as the first pick. It's Chase Young. He's probably the most talented player in the draft. One of the most talented players in the last 5 years. We can all pray to the football gods that they don't take him and that the Lions get him at 3. But I'd almost be more surprised if the Bengals took Tua than if the Redskins didn't take,
Chase Young. Yeah, no, for sure. Now, let me give you a little scenario. If the Dolphins came a calling and said you can have 5, 26, our second this year, our second next year, and our third next year.
What is this? Are they trading for Kawhi Leonard?
Well, I mean, people are using those NFL draft stock charts that show the values of each pick.
Sure. Yeah,
and that's never the case with the top 5 pick. Top 5 picks are overpaid for like crazy. It's a last second thing because the other team makes you wait till they're on the clock. So it's always going to be, I got to pull the trigger now. There's going to be extra pieces always included. Always.
Yeah, I just don't I think that everybody's draft value pages are very different. I mean, we know for sure that Bill Belichick's looks different than the Dolphins has in previous years. We just know that that's the way it works. So let's move quickly because we got an important pick here. The Lions are picking at 3. I think we talked a little bit about this, and I think both a combination of the Venn diagram of likelihood versus good for the pod is Miami's going to come in and swoop this pick up for 26 in a 5th rounder or 4th rounder.
I accept the trade.
Yes,
I immediately accept the trade. So I'm going to send pick 3 to Miami for picks 5 and 26, like you just said. So the Miami Dolphins are on the clock. And once again, there's only one choice here. It's Tua Tagovailoa, which I can say that name, believe it or not. Tua Tagovailoa. I'll do it again for you.
Years of practice with that one.
Now the Dolphins have made moves this offseason. You got Byron Jones, 5 years, $82 million. You got Kyle Van Noy, 4 years, $51 million. Shaq Lawson, 3 years, $30 million. Jordan Howard to be a nice little running back piece for Tua. Eric Flowers on that offensive line, 3 years, $30 million. You've put a bunch of the pieces in place that you need to go from this basement team to at least being on your way to becoming a contender. But the piece you need is quarterback. It's obviously not Josh Rosen. It's obviously not Ryan Fitzpatrick. You need your quarterback, and it's Tua. It's Tua all day. This is easy.
Yeah. Brian Flores might be a really good coach.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the second half of last year, that team turned into a decent NFL football team.
And that's also why, like, you can't really tank in football. I think that's, like, proof right there.
Yeah,
that was the most designed to tank team in the history of football.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, it's so common for a team to go to worst to first. There's no real point in a multi-year tank. But yeah, Tua, most accurate quarterback I've ever seen coming out of college. Maybe my favorite prospect ever. I would love for the Lions to take him, but I don't think that's what's going to happen because Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia are fighting for their jobs, and they're not going to take a backup quarterback with the number 3 pick. Not, for what would be the last year of their jobs. It's not going to go that way, even though maybe it should. But yeah, Dolphins, number 3, Tua Tagovailoa. Top 3 are out of the way. We all know where those guys go. Now here's where it gets fun. You are on the clock with the 4th pick, the New York Giants.
With the 4th pick in the New York Giants, I'm going to take Isaiah Simmons.
Okay, cool. I love it. That defense needs young talent. They were 25th in total defense last year. They couldn't cover tight ends, which Isaiah Simmons is like literally built more perfectly to cover tight ends than anybody else in the world. But the real question I think for the Giants is, do you go offensive tackle? Do you reach on one, or do you go Isaiah Simmons? And I would go Isaiah Simmons, or I'm trading back, but I would probably also pick Isaiah Simmons.
They've invested a lot. I feel like they've invested a lot in kind of their offense. And Gettleman says, defense wins championships. So I think it's kind of time for him to walk the walk a little on that. I think Mekhi Becton makes more sense for them. He's my favorite offensive lineman, but
I think Tristan Wirfs. But yeah, same deal. And again, if they were to, let's say, they wanted to trade back with somebody like the Cardinals or the Jags. Let's say the Jags wanted to trade up and get somebody like Derek Brown. Those options are on the table for sure. Like, I think that works out great for them. But yeah, Isaiah Simmons to the Giants. He seems too hard to pass up on. Is pretty much my overwhelming idea with this. He just seems too. You got something cool there? Pie? A live pie podcast? I think you should.
If you guys want to see me eat this pie, there's an OnlyFans and a Patreon specific for that.
And trust me, you want to see him eat the pie. All right.
I eat a mean pie. I mean, look at me. You think I don't eat you don't think I don't eat a dirty pie?
Those are big bites of that pie. The Dolphins trade their 5 pick to the Lions, as we described earlier. 5 and 26. So the Lions are now on the clock. You got, really, to me, it comes down to 2 guys here: Jeff Okudah or Derek Brown. And my pick is Jeff Okudah. You traded Darius Slay for a reason. This guy has a chance to be a generational type of defensive back. And sure, it might be the least important position in defenses right now. It really might. But having that top-level guy, as we've seen for the last 5-6 years with Slay, can make all the difference, especially one who's like 6'5", 6'1", 215, runs a 4.4 40, and can play man coverage like he was born to do it.
I kind of disagree with like corners being the least important part of a defense. Certainly not in Matt Patricia's scheme.
That's true. Yeah, in Matt Patricia's scheme.
We need, and if you put this together as Trufant, Okudah, and Justin Coleman, that's like the Patricia defense dream.
Yeah, I'll take that. Especially if we can get like the Justin Coleman from the first half of last year.
Yeah.
And not the Justin Coleman from the second half, which I think will come because Coleman was playing out of position so often with all the injuries on that defense. But now he's going to be stuck in the slot if they can stay healthy, especially if Trufant can stay healthy. Coleman's stuck in the slot. Those three, that can really be a dynamic duo in your secondary. Just like a little stat to kind of back it up. The Lions gave up 4,551 passing yards last year, which was the most in the league. 33 touchdowns, which was the fourth most in the league, and only had 7 interceptions, which was tied with the Cowboys for the worst in the league. So the secondary needs help, and a lot of it. Yeah. And if you have a chance to add a Deion Sanders, like, I know that's setting the bar high, but if we're talking the best cornerback prospect in 10 years, you got to start talking those all-pro level guys, those Hall of Fame level guys, which I'm not going to go that far, but those level guys, if you have a chance to get one of those, add them. Go ahead, do your thing. And by the way, little side note, if Isaiah Simmons was available, I still don't think we'd take him.
Yeah, I think
just signed 3 linebackers in free agency. I just don't.
And a safety, and he's a bit of a project, right? I mean, he'll be impactful right away, but for him to reach the whatever,
he's same thing we talked about last show. He's gonna be in the beginning of his career, he's going to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And it's up to whatever coaching staff gets him into turning him into a master of all trades, because he's got the potential to do that. But yeah, Jeff Okudah to the Lions. I love it. Yeah, I wouldn't love it as much at 3, but I love it at 5.
I agree. I totally agree. I love it. I love it at 5. So the Chargers are at 6. And I think the Chargers, there's a couple of things they can do, but you got to get the most important position in all of sports out of the way, and you got to draft Justin Herbert. That's how you say it, right?
Herbert. I don't know. Is it Herbert? Okay. It went from Herbert to Herbert back to Herbert, so I really don't know.
Oh, he's finding himself.
Well, I kind of like Herbert. We're going to call him Herbert.
Okay. Sure. Quarterback. Replaces Phillip Rivers, really high ceiling, third best quarterback on the board. Makes a lot of sense. It just fits,
Is there any world for you? Any world for you where Jordan Love can jump over him?
Nah, I don't think so. I just feel like no, I just don't think so. No.
I agree, even though I think there's a chance he ends up being a better quarterback, but Herbert's the West Coast kid. He went to Oregon. It just fits perfectly. Whoever starts opening week for the Chargers next year is going to be the first non-Phillip Rivers quarterback to start for them in 224 games, or since 2006.
That place is going to be pretty empty without the Rivers family filling all the seats.
Yeah, him and his 4,000 kids. So Justin Herbert.
Attendance there.
Justin Herbert to the Chargers. I like it.
Cool.
All right. With the 7th pick, it is the Carolina Panthers, who have gone through quite the offseason. You lost Dontari Poe, you lost Cam Newton, you lost Mario Addison, you lost Gerald McCoy, you lost Vernon Butler. I mean, just off your D-line alone, you're losing 24 and a half sacks and 125 tackles. You're losing. That's gone. So now I look at it and I say, okay, your big needs on the D-line. You can either go Derek Brown or you can super reach for one of those ends. Normally there'd be an end sitting perfectly waiting for you at 7, but this year's just a little funky and he's not there. You got Teddy Bridgewater, so you covered your quarterback hole. Luke Kuechly retired, so you got a linebacker hole. But I think I think Greg Olson's gone too. This Panthers team is flipping on its head. It's all built around Christian McCaffrey, the defense now. And I think the obvious pick here is Derek Brown. Me too. Aaron Donald light. He's never going to be Aaron Donald. He's not going to have 14 sacks. He's not going to have any of those things, but he's just not quite the freak athlete that Donald is. But he's that next tier of guys who could still be top level run stuffer and a top level pass rusher from the interior of the defensive line. I love Derek Brown. You got to replace some of that D-line and linebacker production that you lost. And you already covered the quarterback slot. So Jordan Love off the board, you don't need him. I believe in Teddy Bridgewater. Derek Brown to me is the pick. Easy.
I think if Isaiah Simmons is there for the Panthers, that's the best case scenario. I mean, that team's it's gonna take a year or two for that team to kind of come back. And I think that they're a good candidate to tank for Trevor Lawrence next year.
I agree. It'll be hard.
Trevor Lawrence is, Jesus. That guy's like, checked every box and then a few boxes that didn't exist before him. So,
Yeah, it's something. Now, I also agree. If Isaiah Simmons is there, you lost Kuechly. You go get your next all-pro linebacker to lead you through the next 10 to 15 years, and that's your guy. And I think that would be their guy. Not to mention, I guarantee you he'd have Luke Kuechly there when he wanted him, helping him out, learn the ways. It's not like Luke Kuechly is going to retire and never be seen again. Like, he could be there to help. But with the players available, Derek Brown, that's the easy pick to me. No question.
You ready? I got a good Derek Brown stat for you. His senior year of college, Derek Brown did not miss a tackle.
That's impressive as hell.
Yeah, didn't miss one tackle.
Wow. So what you're saying is he's the Virgil van Dijk of college football.
Ooh, that one surprised me. That's sorry, everybody else. But yes, exactly. Yes, that is exactly true. Virgil van Dijk had the lowest tackle rate of any center defender in the Premier League. Okay. Next pick is the Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals. That's another team. I think there's a few options. I'm going to take Mekhi Becton, who I think is the best offensive lineman in the class. Highest ceiling for sure. I mean, the guy's a refrigerator. I mean, he's huge.
He's unreal. And on top of that, Kyler Murray only had 2.3 seconds in the pocket per pass attempt last year, which was 26th in the league. You can't, and he was still really good. Imagine if you could get this dude up towards the top tier of the league, where he's at 2.8 to 3 seconds, and he's up, you got an offensive line protecting him. I know you traded away David Johnson, so you don't get the run game, but guess what? He's throwing to Nuke Hopkins now. Like, this Cardinals team, if they can get a solid tackle, a 10-plus year tackle here, they could really start building a real contender for a long time.
DeAndre Hopkins, a receiver who excels when the play breaks down. So does Kyler Murray, obviously. Yeah. I watched quite a bit of Kyler Murray games, quite a few minutes of Kyler Murray last year, and he's if Lamar Jackson had done what Lamar Jackson did last year, people would be thinking that he's going to be what Lamar Jackson was this year. I'm dead serious.
Except a better thrower.
So yeah,
now. They signed Devon Kennard, so they took care of their linebacker need, and it's really just the trenches. Yeah, they got him. Now, do you understand this from the Cardinals aspect? I do, but do you understand this Nuke Hopkins David Johnson trade? It just doesn't make any sense to me at all from the Texans' perspective.
There's just nobody else in the room but Bill O'Brien,
Yeah, I think that's got to be it. And he's just kind of tearing his way through and doing whatever the hell he wants. But whatever. Good for the Cardinals. You went and got a top 3 wide receiver in the league to go with your hopefully one day top 5 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Drake was good for the Cardinals last year too. Like they're not going to miss.
And they got the exclusive tag on him. Right. And it's not like you were getting the David Johnson from 3 years ago anyways. You were getting,
David Johnson was really good for 9 weeks last year and then just was too banged up to keep going. But David Johnson is going to be a little better than I think people think he is, especially if he stays healthy. But he's going to the Texans where there's like something in the water over there where they can't keep anybody on the field ever. So we'll see. We'll see.
Right, the Jaguars, who are picking number 9. Now this team's interesting because this team could literally go in any direction.
Big tank team.
What was that?
Big potential tank team.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I don't think they will do is go quarterback. I think they want to see another year of Gardner Minshew. I don't think they're all the way bought in on him being their quarterback of the future yet, as they should not be 100%.
I think Andy Dalton should sign there.
Yeah, sign somebody to push him. Like, for sure, sign somebody to push him. Just get somebody there. But they have needs everywhere. I mean, their defensive line, their linebacker core, they don't have a left tackle. They don't have a tight end. But I think they're going to go another offensive tackle, next best available. So you're either looking Tristan Wirfs or Andrew Thomas. And I think it's Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa. Like I said, you got to see what you have in Gardner Minshew. And there's no better way to do that than getting him protection, get him some time in the pocket, and let him be an actual NFL quarterback. And they do have one tackle. I'm blanking on his name right now. But if they do get a tackle, the plan would be to slide him to right tackle, play Wirfs or Thomas, whoever it may be, at left tackle. In this case, Wirfs. And I think it's a great start. They have the young pieces on offense. They got Josh Allen last year. They have future first-round picks for the next 2 years. They have an extra first-round pick from the Rams. this year and next year. They got a lot of ways to build. So I think you get the offensive tackle, one of the most important positions on the field, with the top 10 pick, and you lock that in for the next decade, which I feel like I've been saying a lot for these first 10 picks, but that's really what you're going for with all of them. A decade of consistent production.
Yeah, that's the bar. That's what everybody has to hit. You have to be, you got to be getting 5 years of at least elite level play from a top 10 pick. I mean, that's, I don't know, seems pretty straightforward to me. So next, the Browns are at 10. Browns, another team, they have a shitload of cap room. They have like $41 million left. They've got a lot of really nice pieces, a lot of places where they could use some upgrades. They signed Jack Conklin, huge, awesome, great move by them. Makes a ton of sense. Makes a ton of sense for Jack Conklin, who I think is going to play left tackle unless they were to draft Andrew Thomas, which is who I'm going to say that they're going to take. And then they'll put Andrew Thomas on the left, and they'll bring Jack Conklin over to the right, where he's, I think, a slightly better player anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the move. That's the move for sure. Yeah. You draft your left tackle, you move Conklin over to right tackle, and then you have 2 stud tackles.
And if I'm the Browns, I'm feeling pretty good about what's happening on that team. If they can sort out whatever nonsense it was that kept them held them back last year, they're going to be really awesome again this year. And I think the expectation right there.
I think they, in a weird way, so their offense has been like, or their offseason has been kind of slow. I think that's exactly what they needed.
Yes.
It's just like the whole being in the spotlight for the entire offseason last season and even the year before. This is the year where you really lock in. You say, okay, Baker, if you're legit, you're in year 3, let's go get it done. You look at your whole coaching staff, your whole front office, and you say, this is the year. It's kind of working like us, the Browns and the Lions in the same position. Who would have thought? But you really...
I think a lot of people.
Yeah. But I love the Andrew Thomas pick. I'm with that all day. The Browns need him. Get Baker as much time in the pocket.
I agree. Their defense has some studs on it. I mean, they've got a bunch of money. They can go and sign an Everson Griffin or a Logan Ryan, and then still, they've got a lot of stuff they can do. The world's kind of their oyster. I think they're in a pretty good spot. And if you have like an elite offensive line like that, I mean, the game is won and lost in the trenches now. That's the way the game's played.
Exactly. So, and the games being played in the trenches is going to be forgotten / ignored / lost because of incompetence by the Jets with the 11th pick, I think, where they really need a left tackle. I mean, they really need a left tackle. And Andrew Thomas would fit perfect. But I'm almost certain they're taking either Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I think they'll make a big swing at like Jason Peters or something, and then they'll try again next year.
Yeah, like in my opinion, the right pick is Andrew Thomas, but the pick I have them going with is Jerry Jeudy. And it's not like this is a horrible pick. You could be getting Michael Thomas 2.0 for your young quarterback, but is it going to matter if he's got 2 seconds in the pocket every time like he did last year, where last year it was horrible. The dude had no time, and you can't get a real look at how good Sam Darnold is because there's no time. There's mono. There's seeing ghost. We need just like good offensive line, decent receiver core, Sam Darnold, so I can see if this guy's actually a starting level NFL quarterback. Because right now, I have no idea. I have no clue.
He's probably going to be pretty good.
Well, define pretty good.
Matt Stafford level.
Okay. That's top 10 quarterback in the league for at least some years.
A few, yeah. I think that's possible. It's tough. There's a bunch of young quarterbacks coming in right now, but Phillip Rivers, same thing.
And again, if the Jets were to go wide receiver, they lost Robbie Anderson to Carolina. They didn't have a single receiver go over 1,000 yards or have more than 6 touchdowns last year.
Rashad Perriman's like their best receiver in the building right now, and that's not good.
Yeah, that wide receiver room is not looking good. It's not looking good at all. Next, this pick I'm really interested to see who you have them take. The Oakland Raiders at 12.
So another team where there's a couple things they could do, but another team that I think tends to kind of think illogically, at least like watching the way that they've handled things all through John Gruden's tenure. They're shooting from the hip. And the shooting from the hip pick here is CeeDee Lamb.
I agree. I agree. The only thing to me that could really change it would be if they fell in love with Jordan Love and were like, we're good on Derek Carr. We don't need that guy. Let's go.
That's shooting from the hip though. I don't really love Jordan Love. I have a mild affection for Jordan Love. I might sell a little Jordan Love stock if I'm being honest.
As soon as I heard Jordan Love get mentioned with Patty Mahomes' names, I pretty much bought all the way in. And I normally don't like buy into player comparisons, but this is one like I heard it and then I go watch, and as soon as you see him throw like 50-yard bomb off his back foot, you're like, shit, this might be Patty Mahomes.
When he throws it out of the stadium with his weak arm, then I might grant that premise.
I don't know how important that is over there. Weak arm, boy. No look passes, all that, whatever. As long as he can make the throws.
I think that's what makes him special.
And if I'm Oakland, I probably do. I probably draft him, sit him for a year and whatever. But CeeDee Lamb makes the most sense. That's what I think they're going to do as well.
Niners.
See, this one's interesting because you can really do whatever the hell you want. You're one of the best teams in football. This is a luxury pick. You got it from Indianapolis, a 100% luxury pick. Javon Kinlaw's there, Xavier McKinney's there. You're probably looking defense, unless you're going wide receiver, but I think they'll probably look defense early, go wide receiver later. So I think they're going to go ahead and take Javon Kinlaw, D-tackle out of South Carolina. You got to replace DeForest Buckner. You're not going to do that right away. Kinlaw is going to take a little bit of work. But, a 5'6" sack guy in his rookie year, something like that, who can impact it even greater down the line. Come playoff time, he's a little bit more comfortable. I think Javon Kinlaw is the pick here. Again, it's a luxury pick for Indy. For San Francisco. There's nothing much to break down, but I think it's the right pick here.
I could see them reach on like a Xavier McKinney type if they found somebody that they're like, it's this guy. I mean, they don't really have the pressure to draft a for sure guy. They can take a project.
Yeah. It's only Xavier McKinney. You ever seen Draft Day?
Yeah.
It's only Xavier McKinney if he's got the little piece of paper in his pocket that says Xavier McKinney no matter what. Even if I already traded 3 first-round picks to not take the guy. All right, next.
I want to be clear that I'm not putting Draft Day on my quarantine list.
No, I might. Low-key, I love that movie. I know it's horrible, but
boy,
dude, I know how bad it is, but I love it. Buccaneers. This one's fun too. This is you, but this one's fun because they're really in a weird spot as well.
Yeah, they're kind of a team that needs, has a lot of little needs almost.
Yep.
And they're going to get some more free agents, I think. But really at the end of the day, what you need to do if you're the Buccaneers is protect Tom Brady. So I'm going to take, did we take Andrew Thomas or did we take Jedrick Willis?
You took Thomas. Or no, Jedrick Willis, I'm sorry. No, Thomas. You took Thomas.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm taking
Jedrick Willis is on the board.
Sorry. Oh, jeez. I'm taking Jedrick Willis, next best guy down. It just makes a ton of sense. I know they could. This is a team where you could take a running back. I don't, as a concept, believe so much in first-round running backs.
Not at 14.
Yeah, definitely not at 14, but I don't really believe in them at all. History shows us that you just don't. I mean, you kind of know maybe with the elite number 1 running backs, the Saquon Barkleys, the Ezekiel Elliott's, but unless it's like one of those guys, why even bother? And I don't think any of the running backs are those guys. They're not that level of talent. I mean, so that's the only other place I could really see them going. I guess they could go for a safety too. I mean, another one if they really love Xavier McKinney, but I don't imagine that they're going to want to have to explain that pick to Tom Brady.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, you got to protect 100-year-old Tom Brady. That's priority number 1, and that's what this does. It gets Tom Brady more time in the pocket to go through to one of the best receiving cores in the league, especially if they add Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown. Fuck out of here with that. That's 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns for Brady next year.
I don't think Antonio Brown's going to play for at least 6 weeks.
Fine. Add Antonio Brown in week 7. Who cares? It's
Yeah.
not like you're going to be out of the playoff picture. You got Tom Brady.
Goodell, you're going to have like 3 different owners who are going to be like, you can't let that guy back in the league. There's going to be a price to pay for being an insane person for a year. Right or wrong, whyever it happened, whoever's fault it was.
I'm not going to get too deep into this, but I think the NFL should pay the price because it's their fault he's turned into a crazy person for the last year because it's his brain that's turned into mush from these guys slamming helmets. It's Vontez Burfict. It always is Vontez Burfict's fault. I mean, you can literally trace back his crazy behavior pretty much to the point where Vontez Burfict smashed his head in.
That's an interesting YouTube wormhole for people to maybe take a look at because it's one of those timelines where he got hit and then started acting weird. But I mean, we also don't know. I think what we found out about Antonio Brown is that Mike Tomlin is like a football player whisperer. Like, so we don't really know
personalities he was dealing with in that locker room over the last decade, man.
Roethlisberger is like, and then think
Big
about
Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown, and he had them all together like friendly for a few years there. That's bravo, Mike Tomlin.
That's like oh shit. Who's the coach of the Lakers during the Kobe Shaq years?
Phil Jackson.
Thank you. Sorry, that's like some Phil Jackson Zen type stuff.
Out of the Broncos.
Yeah.
Real quick, what we're going to do, because we're kind of running out of time here, we're going to do picks 15 and 16, and then we're going to take the second half of the draft and put it in next week's episode. If you want to hear that, we will be hopefully in the same spot, but maybe on the podcast network, maybe on Apple iTunes. We'll get that out to you. Follow me on Twitter at fan2fandrew, and you will get all that information. But the Broncos, fun year last year.
We got time for 15, 16, and then the Lions second round if you want. I think we got enough time.
We'll do the Lions 26.
Yeah. Okay.
The Broncos had an interesting year last year. Quarterback situation in the first half of the year was not great with Flacco, and then all of a sudden they found Drew Lock, and they got their quarterback of the future. And it seems that way. He had some really exciting, like almost like Josh Allen type moments where you sat back and you're like, okay, I don't see it every play, but I do see it that this guy could be special. And I think the Broncos are all the way bought in to Drew Lock, like all the way 100% bought in. So what I think they do here, they go get the best wide receiver available on the board. And in my opinion, that's Henry Ruggs right now with CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy off the board. You get a guy who ran a 4.28 40, can burn it, and it's just Lock and Ruggs just chucking that ball. Chucking it every time. You're basically playing him as Tyreek Hill. Yeah.
I actually think that there's an off chance that the Raiders could take a swing at Henry Ruggs. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. Do you remember however many years ago when they drafted with like the 7th pick? I can't remember his name. It might have been Martavis Bryant, but it was they drafted a guy who ran like a 4.1 40, like 20 picks before he was expected to go. Yeah.
Are we talking like a decade?
What?
Are we talking like a decade ago?
Yeah, maybe like 8 years ago.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember. I used to always use him for punt returns on Madden, but I can't.
He's an excellent punt returner. But
it's not Jacoby Jones. It's all right, whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna move past it. Sorry, everybody. They could do that. They like guys like that.
Yeah, and on top of that, like the Broncos have added to their offensive line already. They signed Graham Glasgow, former Lion, and for backup quarterback, they got our boy Jeff Driscoll out there. So hopefully Drew Lock doesn't get hurt. So they got to figure out what.
They signed another former Lions player today. I thought too. I didn't see who it was, but they signed like some corner or something.
I'll have to check that because
they're pillaging us, man. They know something we don't.
Yeah, whatever. Pillage the Lions all you want.
Yeah, right. That could be like how they like make trades. They're looking for inequality or whatever.
Yeah,
buying low on Lions players.
Right. Falcons. You.
I think the Falcons are gonna do something kind of nutty. I just think the Falcons are. You know how people call Jim Harbaugh calls chicken a nervous bird. I feel like the Falcons are nervous birds right now. Okay. And as nervous birds, I think that they're going to take AJ Espinoza, safety. I just think that he's one of those guys that somebody's going to fall in love with. He's a day one, out in the field guy, probably a slightly lower ceiling than some of the other guys who play his position. But I think he contributes in day one, and I think if you're the Falcons, that's what you're looking for.
I couldn't agree more.
Really? You're gonna be like, oh, that's a dumb pick.
No,
Wow.
I think it's interesting.
I really tried to throw a bad one at you too.
No, I think it's interesting, and I don't think the Falcons are in a position where the guy their draft is going to make them a contender. So I think go for it, take a shot. You're in purgatory. You're in the middle of the league, get in a better spot.
Yeah, and there are a couple other guys. I mean, they could. That's another team. They're kind of a to continue a previous analogy. They're kind of a wounded animal. Like you really don't know what their deal is right now. So they could do anything. If they took Jordan Love or something like randomly, that wouldn't really surprise me.
Parker, your head camera's off. I'm just going to let you know that real quick. All right, so on to the 26th pick before we wrap this up here. We got the Dolphins trading their pick to the Lions. We're skipping 10 picks here, so everybody keep up with us. Skipping 10 picks here.
Am I back?
You're good. The Lions, so now the Lions are picking 26. They also have the 35th pick, but we're going to save that for next show. A little tease for you. All right, Parker, I'm going to give you some available players, okay? So, Yetur Gross-Matos, or however the hell you say it, Zach Bond, Ross Blackcock, and Cesar Ruiz are still available. And then Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, and we'll say A.J. Espinenza's there, too.
Did you slip J.K. Dobbins in there?
Sure did, pal. I loved it. He's Emmett Smith, man. Dobbins. He's Emmett Smith.
No, he's okay. He's not going in the first round. I don't even think he's really going to go early in the second round. If I'm the Lions and I'm at 26, and all of those receivers have been taken, all the elite level first round guys are gone. If Ruggs is there, I think it's interesting. I like Cesar Ruiz is kind of a fun, unexpected pick. Offensive line is always first round offensive line is always going to get you value. You're always going to get your money's worth out of that. I feel like. Give me the list of names again. I'm sorry, I lost track of the line. Gross-Matos. Sorry, Gross-Matos is the guy I want. If he's there, I don't know if he will be. It makes a lot of sense for the Vikings to take that guy. It makes a lot of sense for the Vikings.
That's actually who I think we end up getting. But my pick with the names I listed, I'd take Espinosa. Before him, I just think he's a little bit better. A little bit stronger, a little bit faster, a little bit bigger. But he's also not the perfect player. Either one of those guys, they're going to have a little bit of project to them. They can play next year, but they're going to be closer to that rookie year Ezekiel Ansah than rookie year Josh Allen. But yeah, Gross-Matos, Espinosa, I love them both.
Espinosa, I don't think either of those guys will be there. I think they're going to, and I think that this is kind of a luxury pick for the Lions in a way, right? So I think it makes sense for them to maybe take a reach on a guy like Cesar Ruiz.
Yeah, well, so I think what you got to be getting geared up for is if Cesar Ruiz is going to be there at 35. Because if so, you try to wait for that. But if not, you either are going offensive skill position or defensive line. The thing I like about getting one of those DNs here is you shore up that D-line problem, and you can do the rest of the draft kind of going wherever you want to go, whatever fits right. Especially if you can go Gross-Matos and Cesar Ruiz. The rest of your draft, you can get skill position players, backup quarterback if you want. You can
Who is it? Grab him.
Yeah, you really patch some holes up quick there. All right, so that is part 1 of our 2020 NFL mock draft. Me, Andrew Norris, your host, with producer Parker. I do just have one other thing I want to talk about real quick. I hate to sneak this in. Parker, you can ignore it. But I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention it. My sister is going through a battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma right now. It's not easy, especially during the coronavirus, everything like that. It's stressful. It's torture for her. She's going through hell. Not saying she's not a badass about it, because she totally is, but she's really going through it. And again, I hate doing this. I feel gross doing this, but there is a GoFundMe set up. Sam's battle against Hodgkin's lymphoma. If you want to look that up on GoFundMe, or go look at her Instagram, which is just Samantha Norris, Norris. And just, show some support, send your thoughts, your prayers, whatever gets you through. I know my sister would appreciate it, and I would appreciate it. But this is Fan to Fan Detroit, Parker. This is a good one. We'll talk next week, man. Anything else you got to say?
I want to give a shout out to my mom, who I said it was her birthday. It's mom's birthday today. She's medical assistant down in Florida, so she's, right in the thick of it. So shout out to my mom and also my cousin Brienne. Same thing. She's a nurse down at the DNC. Hell on earth, right? So there's some stuff coming up after us. If you're looking for more kind of local stuff, the Ant is going to be doing stuff like this all for forever or whatever. So coming up, there'll be something to follow us and keep it here all quarantine long. If you think that you can do this better than us, you can get in contact with me about that. I'm actually the guy for that. We'll set you up. You might be right. We'll find out. So, thanks, everybody.
All right, everybody. Well, this was Fan to Fan Detroit. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Andrew Norris. That's Parker Hammond, and we will see you next week.